This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Optimism isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's fixing things, changing the way we fix things. It's running the world on smarter energy. Because if optimism never stops, then change can't either. GE Vernova, the energy of change.
Welcome to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast, episode number 42. I am your co-host, Stephen Rothberg, the founder of College Recruiter. We believe that every student and recent graduate deserves a great career and that it should be easy and inexpensive to hire them. My co-host is Peter Zollman of the AIM Group. Peter, take it away.
Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you happen to be when you're watching this. We're the AIM Group. We operate the RecBuzz conference. We do consulting and content for recruitment marketplaces all around the world. We've been doing it for 25 years, which blows me away. And we started the podcast about a year and a half ago. And now we're doing this 40, whatever number it is. And with us, we have Adam Yamada, who is at greenjobs.com. He started a job board. And the question for you, Adam, is why and how?
Well, thanks for having me, Peter and Stephen. So I originally bought greenjobs.com several years ago. And at the time, I had sold a few domain names kind of back to back. And I was actually looking for a job at the time. So my thought process was I wanted to do something which was impactful, maybe good for everybody, but also a good business. So I was looking around for a domain name and I came across greenjobs.com, which had an existing backlink history. And my background is in SEO and marketing. I have a B2B marketing experience in packaging, manufacturing, a little bit of the automotive sector. So I was like, well, I can just use all this knowledge to start a job board. And little did I realize starting a job board is much more complicated than I thought. And I actually got a full-time job and I was trying to run the job board and the full-time job and it became too much. So I actually put the domain up for sale for a few years, had it with a broker. And then recently, about 6 weeks to 2 months ago, I decided to relaunch it because the new administration has put a lot of money into the green energy sector, which includes like solar, wind jobs, conservation, things like that.
Yeah, and I think for the benefit of the listeners outside the U.S., Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're talking about it's the Build Back Better bill.
So that was the old
for the U.S. federal government.
That was the old name. It's
okay.
The actual legislation is actually Inflation Reduction Act. I believe there's about like 370 billion, 400 billion, something like that for green energy projects. So you've seen a lot of money flow in. Not just that government money actually is just starting to kind of filter out. And a lot of it is the form of tax credits. A lot of the money that you've seen actually is from private companies in anticipation of getting these tax credits and that kind of funding for projects.
So windmills, solar, stuff like that.
So it's kind of an ideal time to consider relaunching greenjobs.com because there's been a lot more interest, even in the short time span that I've had the board up. I've had a lot of people reach out.
So you said there were complications. First of all, what did you use for your back end and how did you choose it? And second of all, what were the complications and have you overcome them yet? That's a multi-part question that could take 5 minutes to answer. Don't.
Well, job boards are essentially marketplaces, right? So you
Yeah.
have that chicken or the egg issue, and that means you're trying to bring two sides together, right? So you have job seekers and getting employers to kind of match up with each other, right? So anytime you're starting any marketplace, that is essentially your main issue, and kind of trying to get all that traffic of those people talking to each other is always the main challenge, right? Of cold starting anything. So that's the main, I think, issue any job board has. And there's certain ways to overcome it. I'm talking with people that have existing audiences they're like, we've had people that have wanted to post jobs and like, it doesn't make sense for us. So we'd rather just work with you. So those are some ways you can kind of overcome that. And in terms of your software question, yeah, there's tons of software. We were talking about this a little bit before we got on here, and it's like, I have a lot of developers that come to me and they're trying to build their own job board software. And honestly, at this point, I'd really just buy something and white label it. I currently use Market Grabber, and the team over there is very knowledgeable. They've been in the industry a long time. It was not too much money to get started. There was some other software that I was considering using. And the reality is that, you could spend $6,000 to $10,000 launching your job board, and it's going to be a slow slog to kind of recoup any investment back for a long time. I'm having to spend some money doing advertising or working, doing programmatic things that I'm looking at, and like, you're going to have to outlay money for that. So there's certain things where it's like, I think you kind of want to always start small and work your way up, even if you have a premium domain like greenjobs.com.
So when you decided to before you decided to use Market Grabber, what were some of the other software solution providers that you looked at? I'm not looking for you to like badmouth any of them, but like, what caused you to go to Market Grabber? Was it price, features? If it's features, like what features would attracted you to that?
I actually know several people that have used Market Grabber in the past. Talking with people within the job board community. I mean, one software I've also used is Smart Job Board, which is pretty common. The thing is that I think the minimum price is $400 to $500 a month right now, and it makes sense to move to that if you have revenue. But I think if you're a single job board operator and you're just getting started, that may not make that much sense at this point in time. I'm using actually YM Careers on another job board that I have, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with how they operate. They're mainly for associations, but they do have some solo job operators that work with them, and they do a revenue split, but they handle all the customer service in software. So I am trying them out, and that is a good option for some people. But generally, you have to have a premium domain name if you're going to come to them with that type of agreement.
Looking for the inside scoop on payroll? Whether you're a payroll pro or just curious about your paycheck, we've got two podcasts you cannot miss. It's About Payroll delivers the latest trends for payroll pros, and It's About Your Paycheck is here for employees, breaking down pay and rights in simple terms. Two great shows, two great hosts, and endless insights to keep you informed and empowered. Subscribe now and elevate your payroll knowledge. Brought to you by Work Defined, where payroll meets people.
Or you have to have an existing audience, with most associations do. But in terms of job board software, I would definitely look at kind of like where you're at currently. So if you have an existing audience in your association, that job board software, you could probably use different software and still be successful. If you're starting from scratch and you're spending a lot of money upfront at first, or you're building on your own, I honestly don't recommend it, but there's still developers out there that are doing that. For sure.
Green Jobs. Tell us a little bit more about them and how you exploit what's obviously a very hot niche or niche if you're listening in England.
I think the domain obviously speaks for itself. The main thing that I'm actually doing is either outreaching to people, or I've had people just contact me out of the blue. Like there was a guy yesterday that I was talking with who has a large green energy following. He has like a whole media company for it. And our discussion really was around the fact that they kind of have an internal network for people that are looking for jobs, but he's not really interested in doing recruiting or essentially helping those people find jobs. So we're talking about ways to work together. And in terms of like exploiting the current market, really it's just kind of keeping up with news. If you're in a particular industry, something I recommend doing is using an RSS reader. Try and go find websites in that niche that you want to follow, and then put them in like Feedly or the old reader, and then you can keep up with news. So that's something that I try and do quickly every couple of days within the green energy industry. So I know what's going on, who the players are, who's getting funded, that type of thing. Unfortunately, right now, you're finding, though, even in the green energy space, there's a lot of companies that are having trouble raising money because, interest rates are high. Credit is kind of starting to freeze up, even with all the government money that's flowing into it.
Yeah. I think we have time for one more question. Pricing model. There's a shift certainly in the US, Canada, the UK. It's coming to the EU to do a pay for performance. Employers paying on a per click basis, per application basis. Most of the world is duration based. X dollars for 30 days. What did you choose to do for green jobs? And do you see that being kind of like a forever, or is it just like a short term pricing model?
Yeah, great question. The thing that I've actually chose to do is I'm trying to actually still work out some of the technical flow issues when people are signing up. So currently I'm not charging, but when I do charge, the goal really will probably be to do packages for a yearly basis on subscriptions, because most of the people that I've talked with in the industry say, most employers are interested in only doing pay per post. So like you said, duration-based posting for 30 or 60 days. The problem with that is that your revenue can be up and down every month. You never really know when someone needs to post 10 jobs, in February, and they may not need to post any jobs the rest of the year for some weird reason. So having that subscription model is ideally the goal. But I think what I've seen a lot of job boards do, and people that I've talked with, is that they're kind of expanding out their services and offerings. So I've seen a lot of people move into kind of having a community model, and then they may charge for things like resume writing, groups of like, they have education. So I've been talking to people about like, I want to offer like solar education. How could I do that within the community? Things like that. I think job boards really are communities, and you want to think of like how to expand your monetization methods. Also, like, another thing I've talked with some job board owners about is a lot of people that come to your board, they may not have the skills or experience for some of those jobs. And you can try and essentially provide places to find that education or training for those job seekers. And that's something that I think more people should be thinking about, is essentially not just like, how do we charge more money for our job postings or do subscriptions? How do we kind of expand the traffic that we have and use it in more ways? So those are things I'm kind of thinking about right now, exploring.
Well, clearly building a community is important, especially for niche or niche job boards. And green jobs should be, can be, and probably will be a great community. We could talk about this for another half hour, except we can't.
Sure.
So we're pretty much out of time. Stephen, any last words? Or are you just going to roll the video?
Yeah, no, this has been great, Adam. Thank you very much. Definitely stay in touch with how it's going building. I think a lot of our listeners are in a similar boat to you, that they either are approaching the launch, they're considering it, trying to figure out their audience, their domain,
right,
their brand, all of that, or they're like you and they're fairly new into it. which is why they're listening to two grizzled old veterans like Peter and me. But
I thought you were referring to Adam and yourself as the grizzled old vets. And I'm the youngster of the bunch. But
he doesn't have any gray hair. So
Adam,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen, thank you very much. And see you next time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Happy to answer any questions people have. So just definitely look me up, and I'd be happy to offer any advice on software, your job domain, things like that.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.